My name is Tom Robinson. I've been with JoyRide Logistics since the beginning.
Been in Arizona for how long?
I've lived in Arizona all my life, 71 years.
71?
71. I'm a second generation Arizona native. Both parents were born in Phoenix, Arizona.
And do you know where their parents were born?
Indiana, Ohio.
Both of them?
Yeah. My two sons live in Washington State.
Okay. And how old are they?
Wow, good question. 44 and 42, I think.
They're young still.
Yeah, they're young still.
Are they still on Washington area?
Yes,
And do you drive there all the time?
about once a year.
It's a lot of miles to put on your.
The round trip's about just under 3,000 miles. The round trip. You spend a lot of time. You know, you have a car like that. You spend a lot of time on 2-lane roads. You know, there's no use being on an interstate. So from basically Las Vegas to Twin Falls is all 2 lanes. So you can't enjoy a car unless you got room.
What kind of car is it?
It's a Dodge Challenger.
You started with bobtails? Driving bobtails?
Right. Well, actually, I started. I was raised on a farm, and I worked the harvest. You're eligible to get a commercial driver's license at the age of 18 in Arizona, but though you can only drive bobtail trucks or single trucks. You can't drive a truck and a trailer. So I got my first commercial license at the age of 18, and then went to work for the feed company and drove bobtail trucks for them. And then they put me in their training program, and I learned how to drive semis from them.
And how long have you been in the trucking industry?
Since 1972. Went to work for a feed manufacturer here in the state of Arizona, and worked through their program for what they call Class B bobtail trucks all the way, and they taught me how to drive semi-trucks when I turned 21.
How long did you drive trucks?
I drove trucks off and on up until 2006.
And a whole variety?
Mostly dry vans, refrigerator trailers, very little flatbed work.
Did you do any like big over the road, or was it all local?
Regional.
Why trucking and logistics instead of some other profession?
Trucking, because one, it was easy for me, and two, I liked the skills to put a very large vehicle in a very small place more than anything else. You know, working for a feed company, I spent a lot of time on dirt roads in the middle of nowhere, going to ranches in all over Arizona. I've seen parts of Arizona that you would have to make an effort to go see, and got paid to go see it.
What's one lesson you wish you knew from the very beginning?
Patience. The natural pressures that a truck driver will put on himself to do a good job. Most drivers want to do a good job inherently, but the pressures that they put on themselves make them think that they have to go as fast as they can, and that's not true. The biggest lesson is the patience that you learn to just slow down a little bit. We're talking about a matter of minutes, not hours, that you lose by taking your time and being patient.
What does it take to be good at this job for so many years?
Patience.
So when you say patience, is that also with dealing with other truck drivers, dispatchers?
It's just dealing with everybody. That and not taking things personal. Business is business. It's not personal. Sometimes people have a hard time understanding.
So you've had a long and successful career so far. What led you to JoyRide?
I worked with an organization here in Phoenix that it was a truck brokerage. I went to work for them and met Adis at that location. And he and I worked together, and we worked closely together. I mean, cubicles were a wall between us at eye level. So he could throw things at me if he wanted to. He decided that he wanted to start his own trucking company and quit the brokerage. And on his way out the door, he turned around and looked at me and said, when I get ready, I'll call you. And I said, okay. And that's how it happened. When he got ready, he called. I said, okay.
Have you enjoyed it ever since? Never looked back?
I've never looked back. I've worked for trucking companies my entire career where they started small and got bigger. So I like the challenges of building trucking companies. And the unique thing about this industry is I've been able to, or working for JoyRide, I've been able to take everything that I've learned prior to now, throw it in a bowl, stir it up, and pour it out the way I wanted to do it. And my visions aligned with Adis's visions. And that's where we are today.
Well, just so you know, the truck drivers I've interviewed love the company. They enjoy how, I'm assuming you had a lot to do with it, how the system works. If something's wrong, you get with the truck, it gets fixed right away. The experience that you and Adis have put into it from your experience and to them, they feel like it's a family.
Well, it is a family. And the other thing is we decided early on that we were going to be driver-centric, whereas I tell people this all the time, and it's kind of a cliche, but there's money makers and money spenders. Drivers are the money makers. They're the ones that make the money that make the company run. So they need to be given the kind of respect that they're due for that effort. And that's the way we operate. When dispatchers talk to drivers, it's yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. It's always above level courteous. And that's one of the main reasons they like it here. We pay well, but money gets you in the door. It doesn't make you stay. The way you're treated while you're at that job is what keeps you there. And that's what we're trying to project as a company.
It's definitely working. One of the biggest points, I don't know if you know this, but one of the biggest points 9 out of 10 of them have said is that they love that you guys call them by a name when they call, not asking for their truck number or what's their truck number, that you actually know their names.
Well, one of the advantages we have, I don't know all their names. The dispatchers don't know all their names, but when they call in, they go into our phone system and they're identified at that point. So it is a personal touch, and when they see the name, oh yeah, I remember that guy, and they'll talk to him about things that they've talked about in the past or personal relationships that they've developed, that sort of thing. So, our technology has helped us with that because I can't remember 70 names of people. There are some that I talk to on a regular basis. Of course, I remember them. And the thing about it is, as we expand and get larger, it'll continue to work because we have the tools in place to make it work. So there'll always be, the Dan Banoviches or Terry Spivey's, they'll always be that. They won't be, hey, truck number so-and-so. That'll never happen.
So how does working with JoyRide compare to other trucking companies that you've worked for?
The difference here is that I get to make some of the operational decisions. And culturally as well, I make some of those decisions as well. So it's given me the ability, and Adis as well, I think, to build a company the way we want to build it. We're not regulated by the way other people do things. With my experience and his experience as well, we've been able to combine all those and pick out the things that we think work, that would work, and combine them into a separate entity that's a little out of the box, not a long ways. There's a lot of people that operate similar to what we do. We just like to think that we do it better.
Most of the people at JoyRide call you the backbone of the business, and they consider you a mentor of sorts and a person who truly showed them the beauty of the job. Would you say they influenced you as much as you have them?
Culturally, yes, and I appreciate the curiosity of some of these people. I don't have all the answers, but I have access to all the answers.
The dispatch team specifically claims you've got a special bond with them, especially the ones who have been with JoyRide for the last few years. Is there something you'd like to tell them if they could all hear you now?
I think they're doing a good job, and I appreciate their growth, and they're continuing to grow. As we expand our business, everybody will be growing. We're growing, and sometimes it's painful, but it gets done.
So somebody that's never dealt with dispatchers before, what does a dispatch kind of entail? Did you have to train your dispatchers when you guys were first growing?
Well, it can't be done in a week. It can't be done in a month. It takes years really to train a good dispatcher. So, we familiarize them with the software that we use, and then they're presented with different, and on the job training situation. They're presented with different situations that may occur, and we counsel them on that and help them through that so they'll see how to think, if you will. We're not scripted. By that I mean, we don't have a dispatcher in a call center that can look at a piece of paper and know what to tell. It's all one-on-one, off the cuff, not off the cuff, but adjusted for the situation at hand. And we have to train them to be able to think that way, to be able to think with their head and not their heart. There's no room for, business is business. There's no room for emotion. So they need to perfect their actions. They need to look ahead to see what the reactions will be from their actions. So that's pretty much what we try.
So how long do you go through in the beginning? Like you'll hire somebody and you can tell how long does it take before you can say that they're not good for that position, or are you usually able to train them up into the position?
We train them up into the position. Most of these guys have had transportation, or some of them have had transportation backgrounds. But as we've talked about previously, we're not doing things their way. We're doing things our way. So what we have to do is realize that dispatchers that come in from different companies like that have ideas of their own because they've been trained a different way than what we train them. And we encourage them to talk to us about changes that they see that might be advantageous to us. But ultimately, Adis or Ed or I make the decision as to whether we want to proceed that way. We appreciate the experience they've had, but we don't necessarily utilize their past experience because we're trying to do it the JoyRide way, if you will.
If you could sum up JoyRide in one word, what would that word be?
Progressive.
What's one piece of advice you'd share with anyone trying to get into the trucking business?
This is the part you're not going to like. Don't do it. Well, understand that it's a business. Once again, we go back to business is business. Friends are friends. It's not personal.
What would you say is JoyRide does better than the other companies?
Well, I think the drivers have summed it up pretty well. We're more personal, more one-to-one. We treat our drivers like they are the guys that make the money. So they're given that kind of respect. These guys aren't tools. They're people. They're drivers.
If you could do it all again, what would you do differently?
Been a farmer.
Is that a serious answer?
No.
No.
I doubt that I'd do anything. And I've worked for some companies in the past that have given me the advantage to learn along the way. I've worked for companies where I was safety directors, maintenance directors, terminal managers, fleet managers. I've been able to do all this. It's like going to the College of Transportation, if you will. I've been given the opportunity to do that education to soak up the information that these mentors would give me and be able to realize what works for me and what doesn't work for me and proceed with that attitude. And I realized in 1994 that this wasn't going to be something that I could sustain the rest of my life. And I drove part-time up until 2004, 2005, somewhere in there. But in 1994, I officially got off the road 100% of the time. You know, I've had jobs where I would work in the office all week and then drive on the weekends. But I made it, like I said, I made a conscious decision in 94 that this wasn't going to be sustainable for the rest of my life, that I had to make a choice of what I wanted to do. And that's when I was given the opportunity to be trained as a safety director in 1994 for a small refrigerator carrier that I had helped. When I went to work for the gentleman, it was he and I. When I left, there was 10 of us. And he actually sold me to the company that gave me the opportunities that I spoke of earlier. So it's been a thorough education. I had nothing to do with brokerage until I went to work with the Dees. But every other aspect, payrolls, everything, I did everything in transportation.
That's why this company's running so smoothly, because you've done it all. It makes it.
And part of it's just a Dees, just his will alone.
Yes, that is true. So you're one of the few people that have been with JoyRide from its very beginning. What inspired you to take the leap of faith when there were so many other companies to work for all the time?
I knew a Dees and he asked. It's that simple.
That says a lot about the owner.
It does. The owner has pretty well-defined vision, and we spend our time trying to make that happen.